Hello there, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland. So thanks for coming back to the channel once again. Well, the Conservative Unionist Party has got to pick a new leader. Rishi Sunak, he announced his resignation as I forecast as the results were coming through. He's obviously remaining on as party leader until such time as a replacement has been elected. So remember, he became leader on the 25th of October 2022. So almost certainly his time as leader will be less than 2 years. And he hopes to be gone by autumn because here we are in mid-July. A leadership contest would take 2 months. So from 5th of July resignation till 5th of September, something like that. The people say, could we do it faster? You go just down to one candidate. Other people rule themselves out or whatever. Traditionally, well, this is William Hague's rules. The MPs vote and vote, a few rounds of voting, narrow down to two candidates, and then put to the mass membership. Conservative Party claims to have 150,000 members. Fewer than that will vote in reality in the online poll. But remember, when it was Theresa May against Andrea Leadsom, Andrea Leadsom withdrew and Theresa May won by default. And remember, that's obviously how Rishi Sunak won it after Liz Truss tendered her resignation. There was talk of Boris Johnson thinking he could come back only 7 weeks after he'd resigned. Penny Mordaunt didn't quite get the nominations. And so actually, in the end, Rishi Sunak was the only candidate when the party wanted to do this very fast to move forward. There are people who say, no, let's have a long period of reflection, a full and open debate. There's no point in rushing into this. The next election is 5 years away. Labour will probably go to emphasise stability, go for the full term. So we could wait till Christmas. And when Michael Howard lost the 2005 election that May, he said, let's do this beyond the party conference in October. So they waited almost into December to elect the new leader, who was David Cameron. But I think Rishi can't wait to rid himself of the job, which he considers a heavy burden, as rather stressful. He'll do something more enjoyable, spend more time with little daughters, more remunerative. Okay, his wife's got hundreds of millions of pounds. He never has to think about money again. But, big jobs could be his. I would have said being Secretary General of NATO, for instance, but that's already gone to somebody else, certainly for this term. Be something like Secretary General of the Commonwealth, but they can't have one British General Secretary after another. I don't know, something in the United Nations, whatever. Probably be kicked upstairs to the House of Lords next time. So let's have a look at the contenders. Now, Jeremy Hunt has excluded himself from standing. His seat in Surrey looked dicey, but he put a lot of his own money into it. He's a self-made multimillionaire, and he did save his seat and actually won by a surprisingly large margin. The former Chancellor Exchequer, he had been Health Secretary, was elected in 2010, very straight down the line, very bland, cloyingly conformist. I met someone who knew him through business years ago. Yeah, said he's like that. He's utterly innocent of originality. His father was an admiral, and he's all got that military directness and just conventionality to him. So I'm very against head boy types. I wasn't one myself, as you can tell. Rishi was one. You think someone who's just like absolutely spineless, totally cowardly, arse crawler. That's the sort of person who gets to be head boy. But anyway, the contenders are Kemi Badenoch, Tom Tugendhat, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Jeremy Hunt, Robert Jenrick, James Cleverly, even people are way out there talking about Lord David Cameron. Well, there's been no leader of the party who's been in the House of Lords since was it Marquis Curzon of Kedleston in the 1920s? But Bonner Law was made Prime Minister because George V said we can't have a PM in the upper chamber because Labour's got nobody there. Not laying down a doctrine always has to be someone in the House of Commons, but it's not been a peer. I just don't see that happening. He's yesterday's man for all sorts of reasons. Even bringing him back as Foreign Secretary was, I think, a bad decision. But we shall see. All right. So Kemi Badenoch is the bookie's favourite. So she's 42, so just the right age, young but not too young. Just a very sunny personality, a fairly effective government minister. Let's face it, her ethnicity is an advantage. The Labour Party is always false accusing the Conservatives of racialism, and this would be the riposte to that. Labour's never had a non-white leader. They've never had a woman as leader. And for the Conservatives, this is absolutely normal. And her anti-woke views will go down well. So I think she's fantastic, genial. I would want her to be leader. I would want her to be Prime Minister. But the only thing is, would she peak too early? Opportunity knocks. It might never come again. Like William Hague, probably his mistake was to get the leadership too early, but he was 36. He had to go for it, hyper ambitious as a schoolboy, and it was almost an impossible situation. This is an even worse situation. And as I said in another video, this is a poisoned chalice. Whoever becomes Conservative leader now will never be prime minister, because she, more likely she than he, will lead the party into a defeat, and maybe a defeat after that one. But even if you don't get to be PM, you can get a major cabinet role afterwards. You look at Ian Duncan Smith, though he led the party. Well, he was kicked out in 2003. Only led the party for like a year and a half, but nevertheless, he got major cabinet positions in the Conservative years in office. So Tom Tugendhat, so he's 51, former army officer. He's went to public school and was it Cambridge after his first university, but he's a one nation Conservative. He's seen as too moderate. I cannot see the leadership voting for this Tunbridge MP. He's a hardliner on standing up to China. So yeah, he's a moderate, and I think that's going to rule him out, because the Blue Rinse will want someone who's a hardliner. So like Kemi Badenoch, for instance. Who does that leave? You know, Priti Patel. I remember like years ago, well, maybe about 3 years ago, they said that she was discreetly fundraising, and perhaps surprisingly, she didn't go for it in either of the ballots in 2022. And you know, she's 51 as well. That an Essex MP, obviously an ethnic minority woman, and she comes from sort of not from that patrician background, and she went to was at the University of Kiel. And she's quite anti-woke, was Home Secretary. I know she's well regarded by the security services, willing to get out of bed in the middle of the night to authorize things to do for MI5. What else about her? So, yeah, so she's had various cabinet roles, and I think we would be fairly effective. Or controversially, she wants to restore the death penalty, but that ain't going to happen, and that would go down well with some Conservative leaning voters. Okay, coming on to Suella Braverman. So there she is, 43, a Cambridge graduate, barrister, a KC, the woman who dreams of and deporting people to Rwanda. Well, a dream's not going to come true. So Cruella, as they call her, I think she's too seen as too unhinged. I think she's distasteful. So she sits for Fareham, Hampshire. She's the only Buddhist in the House of Commons ever, I think. So Fernandez was her maiden name. She's married to a Jewish man, and she takes up the Zionist cause partly for that reason. They've got 2 children, calling those who wanted, you know, peace in Gaza, wanted human rights of Palestinians, calling that a hate march. So that'll be off-putting to a lot of people. I think she'll be a poor choice, but she'll probably have some major role in the shadow cabinet. But you know, she's intelligent, no question about that, and again, just the right age. So she's got some sort of an outside chance. Who else is there? Yeah, seen as a hardliner, saying that homelessness is a lifestyle choice, which is sometimes true. She's very firm on illegal immigration. Um, but she beat off the Liberal Democrats only with difficulty in her seat. James Cleverly, well known as Not So Cleverly, so he represents Braintree in Essex, has held various positions as in Foreign and Commonwealth Secretary, a former army officer. He's also from a mixed race background. So the thing is the Conservative Party is always accused of being pale, male, and stale. The leader will almost certainly not be a white man. Might be a white person, but not a man, and might be a whatever, a non-white person, but a man. But we shall see, because Tom Tugendhat is the only white male who's in the running for it, and it would have been a white woman as well, Penny Mordaunt, had she survived. But then come on to Robert Jenrick. I think he's not very well known. I think he's just rather unimpressive. He's a sort of centrist within the party. And he resigned over the Rwanda bill, so that burnishes his moderate credentials. So yeah, he sits for Newark in isn't it Northamptonshire? Sorry, I mean Nottinghamshire. But again, although he held a seat, he's in danger of losing it next time unless things change. But there, people say he's been unethical, that he fast-tracked a £1 billion housing development, and a Conservative donor was behind it. That's not necessarily why he fast-tracked it, but that doesn't smell good. Yeah. So we shall see who will get it. As I say, I want Kenny Badenoch to do it, and I think she's quite likely to get it. Who do I think is definitely not going to get it? I think Tom Tugendhat is definitely not going to get it. If it's not Kemi, I think probably Pretty Patel has a better chance. She's got some of the strengths as well as Braverman without the nasty reputation. Robert Jenrick, I think, is too much of too dull, too unimpressive. James not so cleverly is known in the party. Not even very effective as his brief. I think over promoted actually. Well, who do you think it will be? Who do you think it should be? I favour Kemi Badenoch on both accounts, and I'm aware that they are two different questions. Who should it be, and who will it be? All right. Thank you for watching the channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal. Toodaloo.